All right, so I'm try out something a little different. What's going on, everyone? It's another episode of the Hans Don't Be Vlog. Going to get straight right into it. So today, I want to clarify a tweet that I put out. Today, I tweeted that I am living proof that with no talent, you can still find success. I want to get clarification on that, provide sort of some context to the content that I posted. So as you guys know, I'm a music producer and also an A&R for a label named Mark Wayne Music, based here in New York as well as Romania. But that's not the beginning of my story. So some of you guys know, some of you don't. But I started making music professionally back when I was at Texas State University out in San Marcos. This was way back in the gap. But what got me into it was this student organization called Hip Hop Congress. And the whole purpose for Hip Hop Congress was to use the culture of hip hop to educate people. We will speak on social issues such as, civic duty, race, equality for women, all sorts of stuff, religion, if it came down to it. And in there, about Congress, of course, there's a slew of artists, right? Rappers, producers, engineers, you name it. This is sort of the launching pad for a lot of people to have sort of a career at Texas State. Now, we did have a sound recording technology course or rather degree at Texas State, but I wasn't trying to go there for SRT major. I actually went there for economics, but would later changed my major. Long story short, um, I started off with like a group of like 9 different people, and everyone has already been involved in music for like a long time. So I have been songwriting since I was, I want to say maybe 15, but I didn't jump in anyone's studio at the time. Everyone I was working with was either in somebody's studio or they performed at church or they did something that put them way ahead of what I was doing. So what got me into music was I was dating this Nigerian girl back in Houston, and long distance relationship. She's in Houston, I'm in San Marcos, and it was hard to keep some sort of connection. So I actually broke up with her. I know, dumb on my part. Broke up with her, and about a month later, I regretted it. So what happened was there was this guy named Big Mike. Big Mike told me that there was this guy who was a producer that was living in our dorms. I went and visited the guy. He brought me in and he showed me around as far as how to record music, how to record on my own. Hey, this is where you put the hook. This is your verse. This is how long. This is how many bars you need. This, that, and the third. Sort of like my first producer. Anyway, that was my introduction to music, and I wanted to release my first independent album January 21st of 2007. Right? I know this is really dating me, right? As far as like how old I am. But I put it out, and that was the beginning of what I would call my music career. Got involved with the Recording Academy because there's a chapter out in Austin. Austin's like a 30-minute drive from San Marcos, so I got a chance to meet all kind of people. Shout out to Teresa Jenkins. She passed not too long ago, but rest in peace to her. But she was one of the people to sort of usher in a lot of people from Texas State that actually joined the academy. The reason why I'm giving all that context is that when I started doing music, man, I was like the least talented one of them all. Like I said, I started with 9 different people. Producers, singers, songwriters. There was a few people that was in my circle. They could rap, they could sing, they could produce, they could engineer, they could even perform with an instrument live. And here I am with my piece of paper and pad going, y'all want to hear my rhymes? And I remember releasing a song. The first song I released is called "Voice in My Head." It actually featured my boy, True Cinema, who I think he has a YouTube page. I'm not sure, but he did the hook. And I co-produced a record with my producer, laid the verse, put it out. A couple people liked it, but the feedback was like, "It's cool, but I don't really like Hans's verse too much, man. It's cool." And of course, like anything else, when you first start off doing something, you're not that great at it, right? And it was hard, man. Like it was hard. It was hard to be around that group of people who were just that much more talented than me. After about a year and a half, about 18 months of doing this every single day, getting up, writing, recording music, releasing it, performing, what I started to notice was I started to sort of creep up on them a little bit, little by little. Not a lot, just little by little. I started to notice that I started getting a bit more listenership. I started having more shows. I started, just doing just a little bit more. I was like, okay, this is different. By the time I hit year 4 or 5, I had already performed in front of 30,000 people. I'm sorry, 10,000 people before. I've already been on 2 tours that I financed myself, and I had already performed on TV and been part of a live band. That gap I kind of ate that gap up and kind of went beyond. Now, this is, of course, no diss to them whatsoever. They did everything in their own right. Some of them are still doing music as a career. Some decided not to. Some decided to go another direction because it just wasn't for them, and that's totally okay. But the point of me saying all this was, when I started, I was not one of the talented ones. I was voted most unlikely to succeed in music, especially as an artist. I had a lisp. I rhymed out of pocket sometimes. But the only thing I had was just my drive just to get it done. And what I want you guys to take from, I'm checking. I'm actually working on a session right now. What I want you guys to take from that is, if you're following me and you're seeing all these successes, right? I was recently named A&R for Mark Wayne Music. I've had music played overseas. You see all these records that are coming out with my name on it. Recently, I was on the cover of a magazine called Cook Up Magazine, which is a producer magazine that just came out. I was on the cover of the very first issue. You may see all this and say like, oh man, Hans is killing it. He's talented, this, that, and the third. What I want you to notice, and I'm going to humble myself a little bit, but I also want you to take something from it, which is what you are looking at is hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of work with a slew of failures. When I was an artist, I remember performing on stage, people laughing at me. I remember being kicked off stage because people didn't really like what I was saying. Even so much so, I remember the chick I was dating at the time. Somebody came up to her and gave her a little slight comment about my talent, right? Of course, 13 years later, here we are. I got my own business. I'm doing it a lot more. All this came from just steadily doing the work and just being consistent. And so if you're watching me, you're following me, whether it's on any the social medias, please understand that for every post that I make, just like recently, Mark Wayne Music, we were just on Billboard. We made Billboard. We finally got on Billboard, and we're doing big stuff. But please understand, between myself, between Magic, between Mark, between the artists I'm working with, whether it's Win, Mark Generous, whether it's with Jay Daniel, any of these people, you're looking at hours and hours and hours of work along with a slew of failures. So what I want you guys to take from this is that if you are trying to do music as a career, you're going to take a lot of losses. And really what it is, it's just part of the maturation process, because you don't know what works. You may think one thing will work, but something else that you're not paying attention to may be working. So just taking a stride, man. And again, just stay consistent. I think you guys will do fine. I don't want to make this too long, man, but I just want to lay context to that. It's my first time uploading straight to YouTube. But anyway, if you're watching me, hit the subscribe button. If you guys have any questions, or if any other type of content you guys want me to post, let me know. Much love. Deuce.